Okay, so I got this question. Jaimie, are you red-pilled? And I've gotten a variation of this question several times, so I'm just going to try to answer it as well as I can. I don't really keep up with this trendy stuff because I'm not cool like that. But as far as I can tell, this whole red pill thing people are asking me about has something to do with these videos I've seen bits and pieces of online where there will be like a big table and there's like a bunch of dudes over here who are like fancy business dudes and have nice suits and ties and stuff. And then over here, there are a bunch of like very irresponsible, immature women who are somewhere on the spectrum of prostitute-ish. And these men will explain to these women how they need to grow up and, stop being such irresponsible twits. And, there's a lot of very good explanations in there. It's very reasonable. Right up to the point where the men start talking about what the men should do. So it's very easy to criticize these particular women and the dumb lifestyles they're doing and the dumb things they think. But then the men start talking about themselves and they start saying, all right, women, you need to stop being so immature and irresponsible. Because we as men, we're the ones who get to be stupid and irresponsible. Because we had to work hard for that right. So we had to spend all this time and energy fighting with each other for access to resources. And once we got the access to the most resources, then we got the access to the most womenses. And once we got the access to the most womenses, then it's our duty. It's our dang old duty to have as many promiscuous relations as we can with those women as possible. As many one-night stands as we can, even if we're already married. And there are two major points I'm just going to crap on right now. First, anytime you hear someone going on about competing for access to the most resources, but not saying anything about producing any resources themselves, like they're not actually adding any value into the world, they're just consuming. They're just fighting to use up the most resources. You're talking to a child who just in their immature brain thinks, well, there's just resources. I go to the store and there's just stuff there all the time. So I have money and I spit the money out and I get stuff. This is the same dumb mentality that totally destroys all the communist situations, because there's so much emphasis on who gets what that they're not thinking about someone has to actually produce the stuff. So right now we have this society that way overvalues the overconsumption. So we have this idea that if you buy a lot of cars and you buy the most expensive cars and you use the most gasoline and you get the most expensive watch and the biggest house and you gobble up as many resources as possible, that puts you at some high status. That makes you better than the other people. And so we have this idiotic idea because the people we hear from most are celebrities, because that's who's in all the movies, in all the TV commercials, on the radio, and that's who we hear from the most is celebrities. And what are celebrities doing? Often, I mean not all of them, but often most of them, a large part of the job is selling stuff. So the people paying these celebrities to sell stuff are the ones selling the expensive stuff. So we end up getting this message over and over and over every time we watch movies or TV or any time we're getting the media, and we're plugged in like all the time. So we're getting this message constantly getting this message that you buy the expensive car, you buy lots of expensive cars, you buy the expensive watch, you get the expensive shoes, you buy, consume, and then you have the access to the most women. Ha ha ha, yeah, baby, right? And everyone's kind of, not everyone, but like way too many people are buying this story. And on a little side note here, if we could convince like all women to just say, you know what, I'm not interested in fancy cars. I'm more interested in who's providing the resources. Oh, things could get fixed like that, because guys are doing stuff to impress women. A lot of the time. That's a lot of our motivation. Anyway, so when you have a society that looks up to the people gobbling up the resources and looks down on the people providing the resources. This is the farmers and the miners and the builders and all these people. And they are definitely looked down upon in our society. They're getting the lowest wages. People look at them and say, you're dirty. You're not important. When you have a society like that, where value is flipped upside down, where you're valuing the people who throw away the most value, and you're devaluing the people who actually provide the most value, well, you know your civilization's in trouble then. So this whole idea, that's just idiotic. All right, what's the second problem here with these red pill guys? Okay, this idea that you're supposed to have lots of promiscuous relations with lots of women, and that's kind of how you prove yourself, and that's like something you're entitled to because you have access to the most resources, because you put in the work and competed with the other men, and you know you got access to the most stuff, so now you gotta have the most relations with the most women possible, the most one-night stands, and then you get to say to the other man, haha, look how fancy and virile I am. Which I think is just a total waste of time. But the real problem comes when these guys are talking about this when they're married, and they're like, yeah, when you're married, you should have a lot of relationships with other women too, and your wife should understand this and respect it. And the explanation behind this is basically like, you know, evolutionarily speaking, throughout history, men would the most successful men would have the most babies with the most women, and then their successful genes would be passed on to the next generation. So it's like in our instincts to want to have relationships with various women, have lots of babies with different women. So that somehow explains why you should have lots of promiscuous relationships where you're not having babies. It has nothing to do with evolution. No, it's just not holding water there. So, you know, if you're going to use that evolutionary explanation, then I think you have to use it in a way that makes sense, where you are actually having babies. So how about this? Instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to be pretend monogamous, but then I'm going to have lots of girls on the side, and then I'll be satisfied with that. No, how about you just pick? Like, take your pick. Are you monogamous or are you polygamous? Take your pick. Which are you? If you're monogamous, don't say I'm monogamous and then just go have all kinds of things on the side, because then you're not monogamous. If you're going to be polygamous, don't be afraid to be polygamous, because society's going to look down on me. If that's what you're doing, if that's what you got this whole explanation about men have to be polygamous, then be polygamous and have your multiple wives and have the children with them all, and take care of all those wives and raise all those children. You know, otherwise the explanation just doesn't hold any water. So I think you got to pick one. Pick if you're monogamous or polygamist. Don't just be like monogamous with cheating, bringing home herpes and, you know, AIDS, or getting involved with some random woman who turns out to be a psychotic stalker and causes all kinds of problems with your family. No, it's way too high risk to going around just fooling around like that. It's an immature, stupid thing to do. It doesn't make any sense to do that at all. All right, so what does that mean? Am I red pilled or not red pilled? I don't know. I don't care. All right, I got stuff to do. Yeah, clear as mud, right? Okay.